Okay. We're just okay. The recording has started, so it's 12 o'clock. We'll crack on. So yeah, thank you for joining the third session. I'm really pleased to be able to bring carer support involved. You know, as it's been highlighted, I'm sure Julia will talk about unpaid carers are the forgotten sector. And I'm sure Julia will crack on with that. So I'll hand over to Julia, who is who works for Carer Support East Kent, and I've already forgotten your job title, Julia. So I'll hand that over to you. Over to you, Julia.
Hello, everyone. It's lovely to see so many people. Actually, I'm really impressed. I wanted to start. Thank you all for attending. Obviously, I'm going to do just a short PowerPoint presentation. I promise it won't be death by PowerPoint. But I just wanted to ask initially, you know, what's everybody's understanding of what a carer is?
Well,
because sorry, go on.
I was going to say that as being I've done a little bit of research. Obviously, there's UK, Carers UK is the best definition that I've come across. But it is someone in an unpaid capacity who cares for a loved one, friend, who's in the absence of that care would struggle, whether that's disability, illness, or medical conditions, or psychological conditions.
Well, Lynn, that was the perfect answer. Absolutely perfect answer. Yes, it is. It's you know, they are the forgotten sector. You know, they do an awful lot of, you know, care for those people that they care for, you know, and they do it, and sometimes they may not even see themselves as a carer. They're just like, well, that's my husband, or that's my wife, or that's my son, or that's my daughter. But the reality is, without that person's input, that cared for couldn't continue, possibly even living at home, you know. So it's such an important thing. But one of the things we do find is, you know, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later, is that it's very difficult for carers sometimes because they don't know what support is out there. They don't know how to access services. So, you know, there are lots of bits and pieces to this. It isn't just as simple as someone is a carer. I'm gonna do my PowerPoint bit, but please, if you have any questions, by all means put them in the chat box or save them up for me at some point when I stop talking, and I'll happily answer as many as I can. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me just go close all my other screens. Right, okay. Sorry, bear with me. Me and technology are not amazing. There we are. Oh, we're good. Okay. Can everybody see that? It's not the most biggest slide, is it? Let's just increase that. Right, sorry, just give me a moment. Jack, do you know how I make this bigger? No, Jack's gone.
Yeah, we can see it fine. It's quite big on our screen.
Oh, okay, then it's me. Okay, so basically, you know, we're talking about, you know, how social prescribing, you know, helps carers. So we covered briefly my little Q&A thing, you know, who are carers? Well, the reality is 1 in 9 people in Kent are carers. It's going to affect us all at some point in our lives. Not everyone who is a carer will describe themselves as a carer, but it can have, you know, a negative impact on their own health and well-being. they're often invisible. They, you know, that's one thing that comes through really loudly. Everybody has an role in identifying carers early. If we can recognise their support needs and put them into the right service and the specialist information, you know, it helps them immensely.
Julia, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We're only seeing words in Latin and one column text. I think it's the template. Yeah.
What about this one? No.
No, it just says lorem ipsum dolor sit a me. I don't know how good my Latin is.
Oh no, hang on a minute. Let me see. I don't. How's that? No, that is it.
Still the same. Still the same.
Still the same.
Would you like me to share my screen with your presentation?
I think you're going to have to, Jack, because I really cannot. Let me unshare mine.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why it's come out that way.
No problem.
I'm sure it wasn't written in Latin. Let's Sorry, I hate technology so much.
It's the beauty of Teams.
Sorry?
It's the beauty of technology.
Stop presenting. There we go. Okay, I'm going to leave it with you, Jack.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
You don't have Latin too.
Right. Share content.
I'm on page 2.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Show me your screen.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, over to you, Julia. You just say you have to be a bit of Chris Whitty and say next slide, please.
Can I have page 3? Lovely. Right.
So over to you, Julia.
Why social prescribing for carers? Well, carers' health is worse usually than of non-carers. As I said before, many carers don't see themselves as carers, partners, children, friends. People's caring roles can often be missed by professionals. But what social prescribing does, it creates opportunities to talk through the problems affecting their well-being. It, you know, can identify caring roles and find the support that, you know, in the community that can help. Link workers can help break down loneliness, 7 times more likely if you're a carer, because, you know, by the very nature of being carers, some carers can be extremely isolated. It can help people get debt advice, housing support, access to a complex range of services that, you know, and activities that can reduce stress and help people stay well. The NHSE are very clear that carers are among the individuals who should benefit. Social prescribing helps professionals who are not experts in carers issues linking to those who are. So really, that's you know, that's the absolute crutch of it, really, isn't it? You know, they don't always know about support. Slide 4, please. Okay. So, who are carers support? We're a charity. We provide information, support, signposting services. We supply that in a range of ways: by phone, email, online, in person, by text. We provide the information to find out about services available to carers, their benefits, their rights. We offer support, so we're a listening ear, a drop-in, support groups, activities, training workshops. That listening ear is so important. You know, as I said before, I touched on that, you know, carers can be extremely isolated, you know, and sometimes they feel like nobody listens to them. And sometimes they will tell us stuff that they wouldn't normally tell maybe members of their family, you know, just because we are at the end of a phone and we're offering no judgment. Training workshops, you know, we used to do all sorts of bits and pieces around this. caring with confidence courses and things like that. We also are commissioned to do the carers. We can refer for carers needs assessments, and we also carry out the carers assessments to identify and access the support that they need. Can I have the next slide, please, Jack? So within our service, we have teams. We have a carers hospital service. So we have carer support workers that work within the hospital alongside the rapid transfer service. So we work within the discharge teams on all 3 acute hospitals in East Kent. So that's Kent and Canterbury, QEQM and William Harvey. Their role really is to pick up patients and carers within the hospital service and maybe provide some additional support that isn't a statutory support. So I'll give you for instance on this. We had a carer come into hospital who had a heart condition. Now she really struggled because she looked after her mum, but you know, with a heart condition, it meant she got incredibly tired, and it used to come in kind of fits and waves. So at this point, she really was quite poorly. She was well enough to go home, but she wasn't sure she was going to be, you know, well enough to do the everyday tasks that she does for her mum. So we were able to arrange some support where somebody came in daily for a couple of weeks and just, you know, made sure that, and did a bit of cooking, did a bit of cleaning, you know, shopped, just did all those general tasks, walk the dog, all those things that she wasn't able to do for those first couple of weeks, you know, and that meant her mum, who had dementia, didn't have to go anywhere else. That was really valuable. So that's one part of the service. Aside, you know, putting in brokerage and things, you know, we're a listening ear there. Sometimes they may need things just translating. You know, we've all been in places where there's been lots of jargon and it's a completely alien environment for our usual, you know, environments, and people don't like to ask because they feel silly. But actually, if you've got a carer support worker there that can answer some of those questions, they don't feel silly. We also support young adult carers. So we have a dedicated team for those. They support young adult carers 16 to 24. Their support can be quite intensive because they're young. And you usually find that they've been in caring roles an awful long time. But, you know, it does have an impact on their education, their training for work, you know, so by having someone that supports them and can put them in the right direction really can help. We also do activities and team things for young carers. And then we also have a mental health team. They support carers specifically with someone dealing with a mental health condition, because carers that deal with people with a mental health condition can sometimes be dealing with really complex behaviours and, you know, really do need to access services and don't always know what services are out there. So that's why we have a mental health team. And we have our usual our carer support teams who do the carers assessments. They provide activities and events for the carers, and they're just a listening ear, which is, you know, so valuable, as I've said before. Could I have slide 6, please? So I want to tell you a story of somebody, just because, you know, many people have found themselves looking after somebody during lockdown for the first time in their lives. Never a planned event, and it would be hard even during normal times. So this is Catherine's story. She said her husband's only 62, and when he had a heart attack in January, it was a huge shock. The team at William Harvey Hospital were fantastic, but he suffered a lack of oxygen to the brain, which has left him with a lasting brain injury. He spent 5 months in hospital altogether, and after William Harvey, he was transferred to the neuro rehabilitation unit at Kent and Canterbury, and then he tested positive for coronavirus. It's been a really difficult time for me and my 3 young children, especially because we couldn't visit him and see for ourselves how he was doing. When the discharge team at the hospital rang to say he was coming home that day, I panicked. Wasn't ready. The house wasn't ready. I hadn't time to prepare the children. Thankfully, the occupational therapist, the neuropsychologist who had been looking after my husband, had put me in touch with Carers Support East Kent, who were fantastic. You can read the full story. There is a link on the bottom of that slide. Slide 7, please, Jack. So, caring behind closed doors. There is an impact of the coronavirus pandemic on unpaid carers. 81% of carers are providing more care since the COVID-19 pandemic. 40% of carers are providing more care because the needs of the person they've cared for has increased. 38% of carers are providing more care because of local services reducing or closing. 78%, that's 8 out of 10 carers, said the needs of the person they care for has increased since the COVID-19 pandemic. There's lots of reasons behind this. So 64%, 2/3 of carers have not been able to take any breaks from their caring role during the COVID-19 pandemic. That is partly, again, because of services. A lot of services had to close. A lot of services are not taking anybody because of the COVID pandemic. 74%, which is 3/4 of carers, are feeling exhausted and worn out from caring during the COVID-19 pandemic. This has a huge effect on people's health. 2/3 of the carers say their mental health has worsened as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. I can well believe that. You know, there are some, again, there's another link on the bottom of this slide about caring behind closed doors. It's really very sad because, you know, there's lots of people out there we don't know, you know, when they're going to the doctor and they're saying, I'm really exhausted, but sometimes unless you ask the right questions, you won't get to the bottom of it. Can I have slide 8, please, Jack? Tony's story. This was about attending online support sessions during COVID has kept her a bit more sane. Bless her. Tony is 56 and she lives in Ashford. She works full-time as an accounts clerk and also looked after her stepson Richard, who has experienced irreparable brain damage following the removal of the second brain tumour. So this young man had a career in the Air Force, which he was invalided out after his first brain tumour was removed. But his second one in 2018, his memory was severely affected. He was unable to look after himself and he came to live with her. His father, my husband, passed away and Richard had never lived with me on my own before, so it's been really hard. But even harder during COVID when I've been working full-time. There's no break and he interrupts me frequently, but at least I don't have to worry that he's being safe. And, you know, attending carer support, online social support sessions like Knit and Natter during COVID definitely kept her a bit more sane. So you just something really little like a Knit and Natter, she could talk to other people and it just kind of took her out, you know, it gave her a social outlet. Can I have slide 9, please? Wellbeing. We try to run regular online wellbeing sessions, which we do. We've done crafts, we've done cake decorating, quizzes, games, flower arranging, pottery, yoga, tai chi. We did a 6-week wellness programs. So these are some of the comments that they've said, you know, our carers have said. Lockdown's been sad, just to connect was so amazing. Somebody else said it was good to have something to join in with, even from home, as I can't get into my summer house and I feel like I'm away from it all. She said this has come at just the right time and was really needed. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was lovely seeing faces and being able to smile. So again, you know, that's just a lovely connection for people. Slide 10, please, Jack. We tried very hard to connect people in the pandemic with digital services, with a monthly newsletter, digital, online fact sheets, information videos, a what's on calendar in the website, support. We've done some regular online support groups and wellbeing activities. We've been using Zoom, online forums, welcome to the digital world sessions. We've also done some live chat online referrals for professionals. People can contact us on self-referrals. Jack, slide 11, please. So we decided that, you know, a really nice way of people understanding what difference we make is to show you a video that one of our carers have done for us. Jack, can you press play?
Yeah, fingers crossed this works.
Jack, we don't have sound.
Yeah, how do I answer? What's the bottle? Huh?
Jack, don't worry if you can't. I'll go on to the next slide if need be.
No, what we'll do, we'll send the link round at the end of this, so you can use it.
That would be easier.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go on to slide 12 then, Jack. So it's a plea, really. We're asking you if you identify a carer and they would like some support. There's a way, lots of different ways you can refer him. You can refer him via our website. There is a professionals drop down for referrals. It's literally very minimal details to go on there, and obviously the office will pick that up. You can phone a referral in, so on the 30300 number. So it does make a difference to people. So we're really just asking that, you know, where you can, if you identify them, please refer in, and just thank you for listening. Does anybody have any questions?
Faye?
Yes, hi. Thanks very much for that. Hi, Julia. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I just felt like I was talking away at everybody there. So.
Yeah. Julia, I'm a carer, more or less 98% full time for my mum that lives with me. Just in terms of the range of things that you offer, you know, you went through quite an extensive list, some of which I wasn't aware of. Is there one place where carers can log in onto your website to see what is current and going on?
Yes, you can. If you just go onto our carer support, let me just see if I can find it and then I can share it to you.
Thank you.
Right, so it's the carer support homepage. which is carersek.org.uk. And then on that homepage, there is a what's on drop down, news, how to contact, carer stories. And then along the top, you've also got lots of other boxes that you can drop down as well, including one for professionals.
Okay. And I had a second question, if that's not being too...
No, you can ask as many questions as you like.
No, I think, you know, I'm very struck by what you're saying about those carers that are on your books in the sense that have made contact you, even if that is just a one-off call, or somebody that's on your mailing list, or somebody that's attended one or more of your activities or sessions or events, or indeed that has a carers assessment. What number roughly of carers were on your books pre-COVID compared to now, roughly? I mean, I appreciate it depends, but...
Oh, that's a question I would have to go back and have a look at. And I'm not being evasive. I'm so bad with numbers.
Sure.
But I'm more than happy if Jack takes your details. I'll see if I can get you that information.
Yeah, and it's really from the point of view of carers that want to have some, I use the word counselling, but that is kind of it's more, and it's different to just counselling, but people that phone in and where you make calls back to that person to give them advice. So I'm not really in that estimation of numbers. I'm not really concerned about those that are on your mail out. Do you know what I mean? It's for that kind of function.
Basically, everybody that we have on our system has had contact with us, and they can make the decision as well. You know, we always give them an opt-out. Would you like, you know, a carer's news sent to you, or would you like courtesy calls once every 6 months just to see how things are? Or we can leave it that the carer can always call in to us if that's what they prefer. Some carers don't want to be called at all. Some carers prefer email, and you know, we can facilitate that. So any carer that comes onto our system, we've had contact with. So we don't have, I suppose a mailing list is probably not quite the right word, but our system that we can look at people that, you know, if only so many people want their carers news by email, we have obviously a list for that, because we can take it out of the system in bits. So overall, there is an awful lot of carers registered with us, and I think at one point it was about 40,000 just in Kent. They're huge numbers. I know that certainly in the last 6 months or so, we've probably had 2,500 plus carers, new carers, come on board just in the last 6 months.
Yeah, I'm sure. And sorry, Julie, one final little bit to that was, is it still your kind of protocol or policy that unless a carer has rung in and said, I want more frequent follow-up calls or emails, is it still that they're scheduled in for a 6 monthly contact? Is that right?
I think I can double check, but it's either 6 monthly or yearly. But they always have the option that they can phone in if they need to. Sure.
Yeah. Now, the reason I mention it is I know I'm a mental health support worker, very part-time, because I can do that from home.
That's a tough job.
But very often when people are at a very low, dare I say it, subterranean ebb, that thing of them reaching out, they won't. Whereas if somebody was to call them, even as a "How are you?" drop in, that can make or break the difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, that's just an observation.
Yeah,
but no, thank you.
It's very difficult because we have to be mindful that when you call people, you can call people. You know, we found that we did a little bit of work with this a couple of years ago, and some people didn't want lots of contact. Some people wanted some contact, and some people were quite happy just to phone in. So it's really difficult because you can phone people. I mean, there are other ways, which brings me into something else. Actually, part of my role within the organisations is I have a link into the surgeries. So sometimes carers will come up at those meetings and I can preempt, you know, and I think, oh, this person's having a really tough time. I will give them a ring, whether they're due a call or not, because I know from what I've gained that, you know, there is issues and things aren't going well for them. And sometimes, you know, I've called people and they've burst into tears and thought, you've just called me just at the right moment because I really didn't know what I was going to do about A, B, C or D. And we've been able to kind of put some support under them at that point, which stops it getting any worse at that point. So I'm not saying we can save the world, because no, but you know, we have an awful lot of carers on our books.
Great. There's a question here from Karen. What support
Hi, Karen.
Have you been providing to carers who are unable to get online?
Okay, so we've been ringing them, and we have had some events for them. That's not really my bit. I don't want to sound evasive, but I do know that we have done some events for the ones that are not online. I know there was one event I ran myself. Although I ran the event online, I did send out it was to make a caterpillar. I actually posted the kits out to people so they could do them even if they couldn't join online.
Yeah, great. Another question. How do service providers submit their group activities to Carer Support East Kent? My community interest company, Musical Walkabout, has been funded this year to provide a music project specifically to carers, family members of people living with a young onset dementia in Kent.
Oh, wow. I would say generally what happens is if people send those sorts of things in, is to send them in to Carer Support via the support box, which is on the website, and we then publicise that within our teams, and then obviously we feed that out to carers.
Great. And then Phil has asked, a lot of services provided are online, and these are going to continue once lockdown is lifted. Restrictions may go, but there may well still be I think that might be an error, a resistance, maybe a reluctance to go out. Will they still get the online support?
Yes, that's not going to change.
Great. Okay. Can Carer Support arrange respite services?
Okay. In some instances, yes. So within the hospital roles and my own role, and obviously our core staff, the community staff, we do hold pockets of funding for certain things. One of the pockets of funding, we can provide some support for people to have a break, but that might just be something as simple as, and there's a limit to this pocket of funding, that they can have a break. It could be that we can part fund or fully fund a week in a care home. It could be that that's not what the carer wants, and the carer actually just wants somebody to come and sit with their loved one for 4 hours or whatever a week for a few weeks while they go swimming, or you know, but they get out and do an activity themselves. So that's one small pocket of it. Obviously, when we're doing carers assessments, we identify what would support the carers, and where possible, you know, we ask for direct payments for that from KCC. And we have a hospital fund. So, you know, again, somebody coming home from hospital that, you know, maybe they can wash and dress themselves, so wouldn't be eligible for care support, for instance, but they may need support in other areas, just short term, we can pay for that as well. So, yes.
Right. Joanna's asked, what does your self-care course consist of?
Now we used to, I don't know if this is still running, so please don't quote me, or I think it's been reviewed actually. We used to run first aid for carers, and we ran caring with confidence courses, and that was a morning, I think, for about 6 weeks, once a week, that carers could attend. And when they did attend events like that, we did used to ask Crossroads either to come in and sit with their loved ones so that they wasn't worrying about them. And that was really about manual handling, you know, and we tried to tailor it to whoever was on the courses, because we know what their cared for conditions were.
Great. So unless anyone else has got any questions, feel free to, you know, unmute your microphone and ask Julia. Great. So no more questions, Julia. Great. And Hannah Dale was put in the chat for the musical walkabout CIC that if you operate in Dover, please give her an email at h.dale2@nhs.net. And just to let you all know that this call, as I said at the beginning, is recorded. So it'll be uploaded to an online platform, which will send the link to everybody on this call. We will also put together a package of information that Julia's been speaking about today, and send that all out to you in a document, so you'll have, you know, Julia's contact details and how to refer into carer support, how to access the services, and we'll also send you the copy of the presentation. And that, please expect that on Monday. I'm on leave tomorrow, so that'll be on Monday. Brilliant. If there's no more questions, thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you everybody for listening and you know, not laughing at my technical abilities, but thank you, and you know, I really hope that you take just something away that you didn't know before.
Brilliant. Thanks, Julia.
Thanks. Bye everyone.